So to make our coasters, I'm going to be using two different coloured yarns. I'm using a pink and a red here, but you can use whatever colours you like. A 4mm crochet hook, and you'll also need a pair of scissors and a darning needle just for tying off at the end. I'm using a cotton yarn, but you can use whatever kind of yarn you like for this, whether it's acrylic or wool, it doesn't really matter. You just want to think, if you're using it as a coaster, you might be putting a wet drink or something like that on it, so something where it's kind of got a little bit of durability. It's a pretty fun, pretty simple make. So with that, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is take our red yarn to make the centre of our coaster, and I'm going to begin by making a slip knot. If that's something that you don't know how to do, I will post a link to a video which shows you how up here. So I'm leaving a decent length towel, so I've got something to tie in at the end, and I make my slip knot, and I'm going to pop my hook in and begin by chaining 4. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to bring our hook in front and under our yarn, which allows us to catch it on the hook. We then pull that through the loop that was on the hook, and that makes 1 chain stitch. So I'm going to repeat that. We're going to bring it in front of, under, and catch the yarn. Then we pull that yarn through the loop on the hook, and that makes 2 chains. So I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. And there we have 4 chains. So what I'm going to be doing now is single crocheting 3 back along the way we came. And when I say single crochet, that is using US terminology. So I'm going to be ignoring this first chain, this one closest to the hook. We're not working into that, so we leave that where it is, and we're going to pop our hook into the second chain along. Once we've done that, we're going to catch the yarn and we're going to pull it through the stitch. And what that does is give us 2 loops on our hook. We're then going to catch the yarn again and pull that through both loops that you've got on the hook at the same time. So I'm going to repeat that again in the next stitch along. We pop our hook in, catch the yarn and pull it through the stitch. And then we catch the yarn and pull it through both loops on the hook. And one more time in that very last stitch. And that makes 3 single crochets. And you start to get the kind of nipple shape that you're kind of expecting. So what we're going to do now is start working around it. So we're going to start coming out into our circle shape. So the first thing we're going to do into that same stitch we were just working into is we're going to single crochet 3. So we're going to put our hook back in to where we were before, and we're going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. You might just want to have to tighten up the tail there just to make sure everything's nice and tight. So what we're going to do, and this bit's the kind of the trickiest part of the whole project. So then what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over, and you'll see we've got some vertical loops on the back here. So this is what we're going to be working into now, okay? So one more time, this is what we've got on our hook, and then if we flip that over, and we've got these 2 vertical stitches here, we're going to pop our hook into those. So those are the backs of our stitches really that we're working into now. And we're going to do 3 more single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. So what that's done is that's allowed us to form a little disc around those 3 single crochets. So to join up that disc, we are going to slip stitch into that very first single crochet that we did. So the one we did in the same stitch as the vertical ones coming up here, we're going to just, that very first one of the row, pop our hook in, like so. And then to do a slip stitch, what we do is we catch the yarn and then we pull it through the stitch, and then we keep going and we pull that first loop on the hook through the second loop. And that, as you can kind of see, starts to give us our nipple shape. So that is our first row complete. For our second row, we're going to be working 2 single crochet stitches in each stitch the whole way around, okay? So that will give us 12 stitches in total for this row. So into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into, you're going to pop your hook in, catch the yarn, pull it through, so you've got 2 loops on the hook, and then you're going to catch the yarn and pull through both loops on the hook, same as we've been doing to make our single crochets. And we're going to do that again in the same stitch. So that is our first 2, and we're moving on to the next stitch now, and we're going to do 2 more single crochets in here. And I'm going to continue doing 2 stitches in every stitch from the previous row until we have 12 single crochets in total for this round. So your crochet should start to look something a bit like this. You can see this is what it looks like from the side. It's got that 3-dimensional bit with the flat disc around it. For our next row, we are going to be doing 2 single crochets in one stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next, and then 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around until we have 18 stitches in total for this round. So I'm going to begin by putting my hook into the stitch, do my single crochet, and then I'm going to pop my hook back into that same stitch and do another single crochet. So now we move on to the next stitch, popping our hook in, single crochet, and we're only doing 1 in this stitch, so now we move on to 2 in the next. Then 1 in the next, and I'm going to repeat that the whole way around until I've got 18 stitches in total. So that was the final stitch of our row. So what we're going to do now is pop our hook into the next stitch along, and we're just going to tie off basically. So to do that, we're going to do a slip stitch. So we catch the yarn and we pull it through the stitch, and then we continue and pull that loop, that first loop through the second loop on the hook. There we go. And so we can take out our hook and we can snip that off. So then I'm going to take that tail, I'm going to pull it through the loop, and that makes a nice sturdy knot. There we go, you can kind of see the shape that's forming. So we're done with our red now, we can get rid of that. And it's time to bring in our pink, our second colour. So I'm just going to pull it out. I'm going to begin with exactly the same process, leaving a decent length tail and making a slip knot. So what I'm going to do before I put my hook into this slip knot is I'm just going to pop it into any one of these single crochet stitches on our red area, our red section. So I'm just going to pop my hook in there, and then I'm going to put my slip knot onto my hook. I'm going to tighten it up. And I'm going to pull that loop through to the front so we can begin working. So what we're going to do to start is we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. And then working into that same single crochet stitch, so that exact same one, we're going to do a half double crochet. So it's very similar to the single crochet but with a little extra step. What you're going to do before you put your hook into the stitch, you're going to wrap the yarn around the hook. You're going to make an extra loop on it essentially. So once we've done that, we then pop our hook into that same single crochet stitch, catch the yarn, put it through the stitch, and this makes 3 loops on our hook. So now to complete our half double crochet, I'm going to catch the yarn one last time and pull it through all 3 loops on the hook at the same time. So now we're going to work in our next single crochet stitch. And one little tip, one thing that I like to do is I like to carry the tail along behind the crochet. It just gives me one little extra thing to sort of worry about tying in at the end. So you can be crocheting over the top of that if you want to. In our next single crochet, we're going to do 1 half double crochet. And then in the next stitch, we do 2 half double crochets. Back into the same stitch. Like so, and I'm going to repeat that the whole way around. So I'm going to do 1 half double crochet in one stitch, and then in the next stitch I do 2. And I'm going to repeat that the whole way around until we get back to where we started, doing 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so that is our last stitch of the row. And what we're going to do now is take a look at those chain stitches that we did right at the beginning. So there's 2 of them, 1, 2. We're going to pop our hook into the second chain stitch, so the top one. And then we're going to do a slip stitch. And we're going to begin our next row. So we were working in half double crochets for this first stitch, and for the next 2 rows we'll be working in double crochets, again American terminology, not UK. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then working back into that same stitch, we're going to do our double. So we wrap the yarn around the hook, exactly the same as what we would do for a half double crochet, and then we pop our hook into the hole, we catch the yarn and put it through the stitch, which makes 3 loops on the hook, and then we yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on the hook, and yarn over again, pull through the second 2 loops on the hook, and that makes a double crochet. So now we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So we yarn over, pop our hook into the stitch, catch the yarn and put it through, making 3 loops on the hook. We're then going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, pull through the second 2 loops on the hook. Then into our next stitch we're going to do 2 double crochets. And we're going to repeat that the whole way around, so doing 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and we're going to do that right until we get back to where we started over here. So that's where I'll meet you. So we've reached the end of our row, so we're going to pop our hook into that top chain that we did at the beginning. So we've got our 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pop pop my hook into the top one and do a slip stitch. So for this next row, we're basically going to do exactly the same as what we did before. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to double crochet into that same stitch. So and then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch along, and then 2 double crochets in the next one. And we're going to repeat this 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 the whole way round, exactly the same as what we did in the last row. And then for the last time, we're going to slip stitch into the top chain we did at the beginning of our row. And now you can tie off, and what you should find is that you have a coaster that lies completely flat without really having to do much. It should just pretty much lie as it is. And you can see you've got our 3-dimensional nipple there, so I'm going to snip my yarn. I'm going to tie off, and there you have it. So the only thing left for me to do now is to tie in my ends, but that's really boring. I won't make you watch me do that. And hopefully this is something you've enjoyed making. And if that is the case, please leave me a little like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you make one of these for yourself, please feel free to tag me on Instagram. I absolutely love seeing all of your makes. So thank you very much indeed. I hope you have a lovely day.